Hi, I'm Brandon. I love Hallmark movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark movies.
And I'm Crystal, and I'm in and direct Hallmark movies.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Well, hello, everybody.
Boy.
This is exciting.
It's super exciting, Brand, for a number of reasons.
Give me them.
Well,
Number them.
I mean, the postables out there have been asking for, that's producer Aaron, raising both hands in the air. Praise hands.
Praise hands.
We've had a few members of the Sign So Deliver cast on, but we've not had Crystal on yet.
Long time coming.
Also, Crystal's directing a new movie coming out.
So excited.
But thirdly, I talked with Crystal at Rama Drama all the way back in 2022. And this is a fulfillment of an agreement that we made, which was you're going to be on our podcast. And we finally did it. She had a long rider. Crystal was like, I have this huge rider about what has to happen before I come on. But we finally made it happen. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us here on Deck the Hallmark.
Thank you for finally sending the reindeers. Yeah. I have been waiting for a year and a half.
Yeah, she did say reindeers, plural. She did. Yes.
A very specific. We could find one, but it was the plural that we had a hard time with. But
that's right.
I hope that you have fun with them.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say about it? What do you say about
the reindeer? Were just delivering Fiji water, Brand.
Yeah, that was
She didn't want a pet reindeer.
Okay.
She just
got it.
It's the water's untouched by human hands and undelivered by human hands.
And you had them deliver some to you apparently.
Yes, apparently.
As well.
Of course I did. Yes, of course. Yes.
We're not sponsored by Fiji water.
That's right.
At all.
We're not at all. There's free ads.
Not yet.
Not yet. Would take it out. Would actually really help us financially.
Love for us. Yes, because
Crystal, thank you so much for joining us. This is very exciting for us. I always love going back to the beginning and hearing how someone got the creative itch to get into acting. In your case, now acting and directing, which we're excited to get into. But let's go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and when did you first kind of get this desire to start acting?
Oh my God, you guys asking me about myself and starting at the beginning and letting me talk to myself this whole time. It's like a dream come true.
You're welcome.
We're going to interrupt a lot. Don't worry.
Oh God, okay. All right. At least I'm prepped for it. I have been professionally doing this for almost 30 years. Isn't that insane? Which is super weird, obviously, guys, because look at me. I'm like 20.
Yeah, so you started when you were negative
4 years old. It's unbelievable.
4?
Yeah.
In the belly. Yeah. I was like, the spotlights came on and immediately I was on. I started acting when I was 15 in Vancouver, Canada. That's where I'm born and raised. And I also lived in Hong Kong for a couple of years. I'm half Chinese and half Scottish. And so I was trying to do acting over there a little bit. And then when I came back, I basically, and I really mean this, like I was like 5, I think. I got in that first church play, stood on stage and was like, oh, wait a minute, what? Everybody just told me how fun I was and cute I was. I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this forever. And so that's really where the bug started. And then at 15, I went back, much to my mother's dismay. And then she said, look, if you really, really want this, you can drive yourself to auditions, then I'll let you do it. And so that's where it kind of began. And I haven't stopped since.
Did you win Mom over? Did Mom get on board after you became was there a point where you're like, look, I'm in this thing, like, come on.
Yeah. It's my mom is like the most supportive person on the planet, the most supportive human, period. She would have, I could have said I wanted to, I don't know, do any job. And she would have been like, yeah, that's a great job to do. But that I had to fully commit to it. Yeah. She's an English professor, you know, and like a genius and written all these books. She could care less about like the film industry, like in terms of like your looks and all that stuff. So that was really foreign to her. She's under the impression that your body is just there to carry your brain around. And so she's like, I don't really understand, this whole thing. So that was a little bit weird for her to wrap her mind around. But she's been pushing me for years. My whole family, I'm super lucky. I have the most supportive group in everything I do. And I just had to change my mind about things constantly. I have
well, that's what makes you a great director is you get to make the call.
That's right.
That's the whole bit.
Yeah. I'm very bossy and I love it. It's part of my well-being.
Now, before driving yourself to these auditions, did you go to any acting classes? How were you kind of getting yourself ready to say, all right, I'm ready for auditioning now? Or were you just like, oh, it's time. I'm 15. It's time.
I'm amazing. Well, you know what's funny is I don't know if you guys know, there's an actor named Tyler Labine. And if you look Tyler up, you know him. If you see him, you'll be like, oh, I know who he is. He's in New Amsterdam. He's been in like everything you could possibly imagine. The guy's been working for years. His mom was like a manager. And so she saw me in a play and said she would try to get me reps. And she did. She signed me with the agent that I've been with for like my entire career. I like 26 years.
Oh yeah. Tyler Labine has been in everything. I just got word. Sorry. He has. He's literally everything.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah. Everybody knows him. Like he's been around for years. So he was coaching me a little bit because we were like the same age. So we would do plays together and he would kind of coach me. But I didn't start studying till I was like more in my early 20s. And then most of my career in the beginning was all, sci-fi horror films. Right. Like that was really where I kind of lived, that genre. And then I am a person that once I feel like I'm not growing, I will have to throw myself off a cliff and try to do something different. So I was like, no, I want to do something that scares me every day. Like I want to get a job that freaks me out. And then I auditioned for Signed Sealed and was like, I'm not booking this job. This is the weirdest thing I've never played this in my life. And that really pushed me to like I was studying more. I was trying to really embrace the comedy aspect because like I'm obsessed with comedy now. I just didn't know that I could do that back then.
Your Wikipedia page says that you're a scream queen. Yeah. Do you get a pendant in the mail?
Yeah, how many times do you need to scream in order
what's the bar there to be called? Like you're officially a scream queen.
Guys, until you die in a tanning bed burned alive, you're not a scream. So,
is that the best death? Is that the best one on screen for Crystal?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny. I just saw Glenn Morgan, who was the director of that. He's become like my mentor now. And I just saw him the other day. And you know what he wanted to do? He wanted to walk around through the Hollywood cemetery. And I was like, this is so weird and morbid. Why do you want to do this? But it was actually like super cool. Like he walked around and showed me all the old movie stars and talked about silent film. And like, it was amazing.
I love it.
But that guy loves horror, it's just, that's his genre.
What's the key to a good death or a good dying sequence, and how'd you perfect it? Like you're a queen at this point.
Yeah.
How did you get to the point to where you're like, I can die any number of ways and it'll be great?
Yeah. I don't know that I ever prepped for those. I don't know I ever thought about it. It was just running and screaming, and at some point people always ask about Final Destination because I rode a roller coaster. We died on the roller coaster and then we died in tanning bed. That roller coaster was like, I think we rode it like 36 times.
Oh my
like
gosh.
And they would just yell out like, you're scared now, and you're happy now, and you're like, you're not having. And by the end of it, I was like, man, all my faces are the same. Like I have rode this roller coaster so many times, I can't do any other face. The tears are like stained on me. You guys are just gonna figure it out.
That's a day, 36 times on a roller coaster.
Yeah, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was around there. It was.
Listen, you have the right to. If it's more than a half dozen, I feel like at that point you can say whatever number you want. That's crazy.
Do you lose your voice after so many screams? I would imagine.
Yeah, you lose your voice. I was covered in bruises because the tanning bed, like they put the glass here, right? So you're like smashing the glass, and they remove the glass and they shoot over you, so then you're not smelling. And you want to hear a cool story, which I think I've told before, so I'm sorry, it's not new. But
I guess.
Recent reindeer with Fiji,
and we're
getting a story you told
stories.
You get an old story. They lit our stunt doubles on fire, right? Like actually lit them on fire. So they lit them on fire for like 3 seconds, and somebody stood there with an extinguisher to blow them out. And I found out that burn gel that they were using had like just been invented in one of their stunt guys' basements. Now, granted, that kid, his dad is like a huge stunt guy he's been around, and now that burn gel is what they use in all films. So like the guys made a killing off of it, but like those were the first people to be like, yeah, cover me in that burn gel. light me on fire.
Somebody had to be the first, and it was on Final Destination 3.
Hey guys,
it was crazy.
I brought this the basement gel. If we want to use it today, we can do.
Could we give it a go today? Today's the day.
Definitely.
Man,
that's a day.
You were in a lot. Like I see Children of the Corn. There's Twilight Zone. There's all of these very horror, sci-fi, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Did you start getting scripts and just trying to see how long you were going to live? Like, was it a situation where just like from?
You know what's so funny? My mom and dad used to, when I called them and go, I booked a job. They go, so when do you die? Like they would ask when I died in there. Like how, and the goal was just to like get further along and like not die. Yeah, I used to joke that I was like, I just want to like get almost to the end, and I want to do a movie that doesn't have a number at the end of it.
Right.
Like I just want to be in the first one.
Right.
I don't want to be in the third or second.
Got a call back for Scream 10. Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
Can I just be in Scream?
That's right.
Like that was small goals.
Do you know if it's hard? Was it hard for your parents to watch you die? Like I know they know it's a movie, but still, like you're
know that
kids.
It's fictional. She's still alive. Okay, good.
Yeah, but still, you're.
So I took them to see Insomnia because I have like a very small role in Insomnia, and I got to work with Al Pacino and Robin Williams murdered me in that. I'm like a dead body.
Yes, we're gonna get there. I promise. I have questions.
Yeah. And so that was my dad was disturbed by that, and because when I watched it, like there's horror films like where you die in a tiny bed, and it's like a lot of screaming and yelling. But that film was different because that was like an actual Christopher Nolan dark murderous film, and so that was very hard for them, which I didn't really think about. And I was like, oh, that I should have thought that before I told you.
Yeah,
I didn't know kids.
That. Like, I did have a question. You're a director now. Chris Nolan just won a Best Director Oscar, and this is Insomnia is his first like Hollywood going. But can you make a movie that you didn't write? Like, can you make this movie for us? And it's a success, but it's not normally remembered as a Chris Nolan movie. Having said that, Al Pacino, Robin Williams, Chris Nolan behind the camera. What was it like being on that set? Like, just like that's unbelievable.
First of all, Hilary Swank also was in it, and she came up to me. I'll still remember in the trailer, and she was like, "Hi, I'm Hilary," and I was like, "Yeah, I know who you are. You won an Oscar. You're like so famous." And then in the back of my head, I was like, "Don't be weird. Like, just be normal. Don't be a weirdo." She was so lovely. Al Pacino. I didn't get to meet Robin Williams, which was like such a bummer because he would have been, he's probably one of the only celebrities I cried when he passed away because he's like our child, But he used to like his Pacino's method. So he used to love to just like mess with him the whole time. And so on set, Robin Williams is just like trying purposely to like mess him up, which I think is so funny. I wish I had seen that. Al Pacino is one of the most kind, lovely human beings. I asked to take a picture with him, and I had all my dead makeup, and he goes, "Well, honey, don't you want to like take your makeup off?" And I said, "I don't care. Could I get a picture?" And he was like, "You know what? I'm going to wait." He waited for 2 hours in his trailer to take a photo with me, and then he had to go. So his assistant came up and said, "Listen, Mr. Pacino can't wait any longer, but he wants to invite you to his birthday dinner if you want to come." And I was like, yeah. And so I went to a birthday dinner with just Christopher Nolan and his wife, who's a producer, and a couple of the producers, Hilary Swank and Pacino, and we just sat eating dinner. And the waiter came out and sang the Godfather theme song, which I'm sure he's heard 50 million times.
Goodness.
He didn't care. He was so gracious. He got up and kissed him on each cheek, and like it was. And Hilary Swank's mom was there, drinking wine with me, and like it was. I have a great photo. I should find it. Of me and Pacino, me and Hilary Swank, and then Pacino photobombing us.
Oh my gosh.
Like his face is in the back.
Man. Come on.
Yeah.
What a time. Like
that's a pretty good party.
It's a decent party.
I'm sure it's on the list, like towards the top, but
two questions. One is like, did you audition for that? Like, what was the process there? Because this is a step up from Children of the Corn Revelation. I mean, like you're in like this is a Hollywood feature film.
Not many steps, though.
Not many. No. Of course not.
I don't know if I did audition. I don't know how. A lot of those times when they have auditions for somewhere where you don't actually have lines, but there's am I frozen there?
No, you're
good.
where you can see, they'll give you like what they call dummy sides, and dummy sides are like somebody's written it for you. So, there would be maybe a scene where I'm like fighting somebody or telling them not to touch me or screaming at them, but they're dummy sides just to see if you can do the action. And I think that's what we did. It was so long ago.
Well, I mean, I do want to get to directing, but like, everyone, every director has a very different, and this is just I've never directed a film, but like you hear sometimes the first AD is who you just, as an actor, who you actually go to, and you really don't hear from the director. Other directors are in every scene, giving you notes after every scene. Did you, like, Chris Nolan has this whole thing around him now that it's like no cell phones and no chairs, and he's very specific, and he works with the same people. Was that like, was that noticeable 20 years ago to your memory, or not? It was just a normal job.
He was, I definitely felt like he knew how to command a set in a different way. And now that I direct, but that's just his personality.
Yeah.
Like, he's just quiet in a way that's very confident. So, I'm a talker, obviously. So like I have had to teach myself that sometimes in silence you can do a lot more, and people will come to you if you are holding that space. Then they'll come to you, and he has that thing where you gravitate towards him, but he was very friendly. He was nice. He was kind. It was the first time I'd ever seen portable monitors, and I remember thinking, oh my God, those are so cool. Is that a monitor? So he could like come right up to us and direct us holding the monitor, and I was like, and now that I think about it, what a weird thing for me to get excited about it at that time. But maybe it was, showing me, because now I'm like a gear nerd or gearhead. I'm starting to become crazy, and all I want to do is talk about gear. How do I shoot?
Are you big as a director? I know we're jumping ahead, but like on notes, how you give notes to actors? Is it a depending on the actor and what they need, or are you just like you're a talker? So like after every scene, you're like, all right, I know specifically what I want. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now so we can go ahead and get moving.
Both, because I teach acting, right? I've been teaching acting for like 8 years. Okay. And I've been acting for years. So the nice thing about that is that I have a very quick shorthand with my actors. The majority of the time, they know what I'm talking about. I know what they're talking about. If they don't know what I'm talking about, I can see it right away, right? Because I'm like, I'm not explaining this properly. I also don't have any fear talking to actors because we do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I also know when they're stalling, when they just forgot their line. I know. I'm with actors like 5 days a week. I know everything they're doing. So like, I think that's really beneficial because we can have a quicker conversation, but also I'm always going to drive my actors and myself to go deeper. What's underneath? And so I like to discover with my actors. I also really like to play, meaning, one for you, one for me. Mm-hmm. So like, I'll give you a note, let's try this. And then and if they're like, oh, I want to do it. And I'm like, okay, we'll just do one for you, but give you one. Because at the end of the day in the editing room, anything can happen and you might be totally right. But I also need to cover, because I'm looking at, okay, this is going into this, but like,
please do.
As an actor, you're, so lucky. This is how I like to think of it, because you are in charge of one color in the crayon box, right? And it is like such a beautiful shade of violet. You get to learn everything about that color and that purple and the nuance. And as a director, it's my job to like pick all the colors up and draw all over the wall. You know what I mean? So I have to look at the film as a whole. I have to look at your arc as a character and what you're going to do from the beginning to the end. The actors do that too, but a lot of the time they have to just be present in what that person is going through while they're going through it. They can't go ahead the way that I'm going to go ahead. Otherwise you start thinking about like, well, then you're in your head. Then you're trying to play something as opposed to being really present. And the really, really good actors, those ones that like, I call them dangerous actors. The Viola Davises, the like Barry Keoghan now, they light up a screen because it's almost like, I don't think you know where you're going. And I don't know where you're going. You're just here and present and in this character as this person. And we're just like glued to the screen watching you. I have to allow my actors to do that, which means I have to do the work of like what's coming next for them. And then we work together to make sure we're all on the same page.
I love it.
That's great. No, absolutely. When going back to acting, was there a note from a director or even just from a fellow actor that has stuck with you as being like the best advice that you had been given on a set or just in a conversation or anything like that?
That's so interesting. You know, I haven't been asked this question, and I.
Oh.
I'm trying to think like what I think more. There's two things that stick out. One is I had a lot of people telling me no and rolling their eyes at me or placating me or making me feel like I couldn't really do the things I wanted to do. Oh, are you guys there?
Yeah, we're here. We're good.
We're here.
Okay. I fuel from that. Like that feeds my soul. When people look at me and roll their eyes or go, "Oh yeah, sure you will," I'm like, "Oh, I'm 100% going to do it now." Like that's my personality. I mean, I basically bought a restaurant because somebody told me not to. And I owned that restaurant for 3 years. You know, they were like, "Don't buy a restaurant, hardest business." I was like, "I'm 100% buying a restaurant."
You won't send us $1 million. You won't do it, Crystal. You won't do it.
I should never have told you this.
You won't send it to our Venmo.
Or Venmo at Bramble Jam Podcast. You won't do it.
Exactly. But I will say that like on the flip side of that, I've had like the most supportive people. You know what? I will say one time I was sitting on the steps of my agency steps sobbing because I had auditioned for Fast and the Furious, but it wasn't when it was cool again. It was like when it was not cool anymore. And I was like auditioning to play hot chick number 42 or whatever. And I was like, I was so exhausted from doing that, being all about physical, being all about that I remember sitting on the steps just sobbing. And an actor came up and he saw me and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to, I want to be taken seriously. Like, I just want something to change." And he sat with me for like 2 hours and let me cry. And then he said, then go do it. And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Then if you want to be taken seriously as an actor and all these other things, and you need to get yourself in class, you need to show up every day and you need to fail and you need to show them that you're serious, but you have to dedicate yourself right now." And I was like, "Oh, okay. And I did. Like I did.
Yeah.
I listened to him and I got up and I went every day. It's like I just needed somebody to give me the permission, and I don't know why, but I was young. But I needed someone to just say, "Well, then go do it." Like, are you going to sit here and cry about it, or are you going to get up and do it? Once I heard that, I was like, "Yeah, you're right. All right."
That's awesome.
Buckle up.
I will say this, like, if you look at your filmography, I mean, you have a lot of, like, early on in your career, there is a lot of bartender or whatever, things like that. And then what happened is
Chingy's girl number one.
Chingy, the rapper Chingy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. The number one.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. It's number one.
I mean,
So what was the thing, though? I looked right before Signed Sealed because I want to get into Signed Sealed. It looks like you were on a show called Primeval New World for 13 episodes. So that was a regular, like a series regular, right?
And that was my first series reg. And so that was with Jeff Gustafson, who's in Signed Sealed, which is hilarious because he follows me everywhere. You can tell him I said that.
He's the last of the four of you that we haven't had on. So you can please tell him to come on.
I will. He's a blast. We did a series called Primeval New World, and that was another one. So that role, when I auditioned for it, I had tested like multiple times for that. I think I went back in like 3 or 4 times. I was like, "Am I going to get this job or not?" And Martin Wood, who's directed a ton of Hallmark stuff, was show running it. And he called me and he was like, "I need you to take off all your makeup and I need you to be like Velma from Scooby-Doo." I was like, "What? Take off all my makeup." Like, again, I was so, bombarded and caught up in how the outside, how I looked. It was because I modeled for years. So it was so much part of my psyche that was terrifying for me to take off my makeup. Terrifying. And so I did it. And then I booked the job and I was like, "Oh my God, that was so weird." And then we did 13 episodes and Niall Mater is the lead of that. He's in his Hallmark stuff now too. Hallmark hunks. Niall's great. Miranda Frigon, she was in it too. And she's in Aurora Teagarden, or the original ones. And then that show got canceled and we all cried. And I was like, "I'm never going to work again." And then pretty much like a month later, I booked Signed, Sealed. I had tested for another show called Helix.
Yep.
And I was up for that and Signed, Sealed at the same time, and I had to choose.
Did you ever think, obviously the answer is no, because Signed, Sealed started as a series, then became a film, so that's a bad question. I guess when we talked to Kristen, when she was on the show,
you acknowledged
it was a bad question, and I stopped it.
No, and that's really good.
Thank you.
That's real time.
I'm working on myself.
Editing.
I'm working on myself.
You sure are, bud. And I just want to acknowledge that we see you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I appreciate that.
I don't feel seen enough. Kristen said she was the one that explained, like, our first really seeing you in anything, Bray and I, on this show was Signed, Sealed, and she explained, you don't understand, and she raved about you. Like, you understand how good of an actor Crystal is, like, all the stuff she's done prior to this, and this role, like, she was just such, like she just couldn't stop talking about it. And I didn't realize, like, what a departure Signed, Sealed was for you at the time. But even though you had that actor who came along and said, you need to go do it, and even though you wanted to take yourself seriously, like, what was the process of trusting yourself, of not leaning back on, I need to go back to the things that I've done that have given me it? Look, for actors, it's a career. Like, you're working at a bar and you're trying to make ends meet. Like, yes. What was the process to go, no, I need to lean into this and trust that it's the right move?
And not fall back in the arms of Chingy, which I know.
I know. That was hard.
And I get it.
Look. You know, he's part of the St. Lunatics at one point. He's a big deal.
Great job.
He was huge back then. Somebody called me my friend called me a fear chaser the other day, and I thought that was so funny, but I'm like, you're right. I am a fear chaser. Like, I sat in the car of Starbucks. I remember literally sitting there going, oh God, I just want to do a job that challenges me. And so when Signed, Sealed came, Martha made me get on the phone with her, which I was terrified to do, because I was choosing between these two shows. And she said, if you go on this show with me, I will write for you every day. And like the entire pilot, I was like, I am 100% getting fired. I mean, when I walked in and saw Kristen, she probably told this story because it's a good story, but I walked in and she looked over at Scott, our director, and was like, what is going on about me? And I could see her. And I was like, all I wanted to do was lean over and be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm here. I never do stuff like this. Because I just wasn't the character description was so different than anything I'd done. When I read the character description, in my mind, remember the Drew Carey show?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember his assistant, the curly hair?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it started with an
M? That's kind of how it was like. When I read it, that's who I saw. So I was like, there's no way I'm booking this. Like, I'm not a character actor. I don't do comedy. It's not happening. But I went in there. I think that's why I booked the job, because I went in there with I was like, I'm not booking this. I'm just going to do what I would do with her. And this is the only way I know how to play Rita, which is leaning in more of the innocent side. That I can connect with. Like seeing the best in people, always like looking at a silver lining. I can 100% connect with that. So I was like, I'll just do my version, and it worked. But in the series, Martha started really writing for me, and that was great. And then Rita just kind of came alive on her own.
And then
I didn't do any of that stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. The comedic aspects of it, because she's such an innocent, like, think the best, like, you get a chance to do some comedy, which is not directly what Signed, Sealed, Delivered is, but it gives you an opportunity to play some of that as well.
Yeah. And then made me fall in love with comedy. I was like, oh man, if I can be dumb and like stupid in this way, this is amazing. I would love to do this for the rest of that's really all I want now for the next little while. I would love to lean into like dramedy comedies. Like, that's my jam now. I started going Groundlings. I started doing improv.
Wow,
like
nice.
I suck. I was so bad. I was so terrible. But that's okay. It's sucking at something is good. I enjoy the bombing aspect of it. Like, I encourage my students always get up and bomb, because the more you suck, the less you realize, like,
yeah,
I didn't die. You know what I mean? Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So just get back up, and then you just get better.
That's right.
That's how you get.
Yeah. I do think we have to ask. I think we're required by law to ask if there's another Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie. I'm pretty sure
I've heard rumors.
There are people who are searching the globe right now. They're finding screenshots or stills.
Well, if you look at this,
Signed, Sealed, it says
here,
if you combine Post and Able, which are both in this article, and the word 15, which definitely. Can you just, Crystal, help us help you here, and so I can stop. And I love these movies, but can you just go ahead and let us know that there's another one?
I want to help you. What I will say is, I can't say anything. I literally can't say anything.
That's a good answer.
Can I ask you this? When there's a new Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and you're on set, and you guys are acting for the 10th time like it's the last one,
and I think that filming starts in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks in British Columbia, correct? If I'm not mistaken. Man, I hope it does. I hope we get it. This is great. If you're watching on Philo, philo.tv/TTH, she's nodding. She's nodding like this. She's telling us. What is, listen, Martha's always, we've not got a chance to talk to her, but all we hear is how much she is an advocate for the show and the actors.
Oh, yeah.
What are the chances that we could possibly see Signed, Sealed, Delivered 19, the checkered past of the postal, blah, 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 directed by Crystal Lowe?
Yeah.
Oh, God. We talked about that. It's come up many times. I would be interested in directing a Signed, Sealed, but I want to make sure the integrity of the film doesn't get affected. And what I mean by that is because I'm in it so much, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what am I, Ben Affleck? Guys, I've directed like one movie so far. So, I just want to make sure that because it takes so much to direct, I do think it's a hilarious visual that I would be like dressed as Rita, like at the monitor.
Yeah.
And when I'm at the monitor, like I wear a hat, I wear leg warmers, like I'm not like cute, so it would be hilarious for me to be like blah, 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 with my glasses and then like yelling at people. I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure that if I ever do it, that it's the right move for the film, not just me. That's more important.
Of course,
always.
Yeah.
Now that you've done some Hallmark stuff and you've played these different type of roles, would you ever see yourself going back to Scream queening it up? Like, would you? I mean, I know you did the Lifetime, you did the Old Flames Never Die, which we actually reviewed on this show.
We reviewed that on the show because there's a guy who plays an agent in that movie who's one of our co-hosts, Patrick Serrano, who's a Lifetime podcaster. He has like 3 lines in the movie.
He says, wait, what is it?
No more questions.
No more questions.
Yeah, no more questions. Yes.
Okay. That was fun. They were all fun. All those Old Flames. You're talking about the one with Lou Ferrigno, right?
Correct.
Jr.?
Yes, Lou Ferrigno Jr. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that was super fun. I actually loved Jake. The director was great, and also Lou is like a super handsome giant Dalmatian. He's like goofy and like I don't know how to explain. I'm like running like a puppy right now because I'm thinking about him, like the way he's like all over the map. So that was super fun. I don't say no to any kind of genre. I always want to do things that are different. Yeah. So I'm obsessed with playing Rita. I love her. And the thing with Martha's writing is that Rita has given me the ability to grow in a character. Like she hasn't stayed stagnant. She still is who she is, but she's growing. So that's great. But I'm open to doing lots of different stuff. And I write too. So, I'm always writing myself stuff now.
Fantastic.
As well.
What's your? I feel like I have to ask this too. Which Signed, Sealed was your favorite to work on of the and you can include the current one if you'd like to.
Yeah, the current one you.
You guys just try to set it up. I'm trying to think what my favorite one. Probably me and Norman's first kiss.
Yeah, that's a big moment great. For the show for the series.
It was just such a. I mean, Jeff and I are such a funny, I think people know this, but we've known each other since we were 15. We went to high school together. Like we lived across the street from each other while we were shooting all the Signed, Sealed. Like it's weird. We're like, so we are these weird soulmates and we have this weird chemistry that when you get us together, we like fight and love each other as if we're married or family. And so that was a really great moment for both of us, I think, because it was just like, and then the proposal, when he did the proposal with me, I loved that scene so much. I loved shooting that with him. You know, all those things with Gigi that I'll always remember. We call him Gigi.
Yeah, of course, Gigi. I love it. It's a good note.
I do like that. Let's talk about directing. It's clearly been something that. Well, actually, when did you first think? I think I want to try my hand at that.
Because this, in all honesty, if I'm acting, which I've never acted, but if I'm acting and I see somebody gets to make all the decisions, I'm immediately in my head going, "What? Tell me more about that." That's what I'm doing. So when did that happen for you?
It wasn't that. I get the bug of like, oh, I'm complacent. I'm not growing. What else can I do? And so I've worked in like every aspect of the industry. I worked in a casting office for 5 years as a reader in one of the best casting offices in Canada. And I just was like, something is missing. And then a friend asked me if I wanted to direct her short. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try that. And I still remember driving home. It was a night shoot and the sun was coming up. And it was like this, I don't know. I'm sure everybody's had these kind of moments where it's like this magic feeling where you're just like, oh, everything feels like this is perfect. This moment could not be any more perfect. It just felt right. Then I started producing because I owned the restaurant, and the restaurant, I had to get funding for 50% of that. And so in order to do that, like, it's really hard to get money for a restaurant. They have a 90% failure rate. I had to write a business plan and apply for all these grants and loans. And I have a high school education. So I, Googled business plan, no joke. And I wrote one and I found the money for a restaurant. And I was like, wow, if I can do that, I can probably do this in a career that I love. So then I started producing, and the producing makes a lot of sense to me. I'm a control freak and I love putting things together and budgeting. I really enjoy it. But again, the producing it didn't quite match up with the feeling I had as a director. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep trying to direct, and I'm going to keep trying to write. And what else can I do? And then once I started directing more, I got asked a couple times from different people for their shorts. I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to do this. This feels just as right as acting, if not sometimes a little more. Like, I'm never going to give up acting. People I look up to are people like Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Issa Rae, women that are doing all of it. Mm. But the directing just feels right. The writing feels the most difficult of all the three. Because the writing is like bearing your soul in front of people, which is like so weird.
Yeah. So you start having this desire to do this. Hallmark then is going to do this Make Her Mark initiative. How did you kind of get involved with that? How did it lead to you directing this upcoming movie, Shifting Gears?
Well, let's just start by saying I have been begging Hallmark. It's funny because I've had people come up to me and be like, well, you're already in the Hallmark family, so that's why you got it. Is there a lot of nepotism and what? And I was like, first of all, I've been with Hallmark for 8 years asking them. Yeah. Okay. If anything, you should look at it like, oh, wow, you've been asking for 8 years. I've been there for a long time asking. This wasn't something they just handed out. This wasn't like sure, we'll just give one to you. I mean, it wasn't like Oprah with a car. I really look at Ashley Williams and Randy Pope. Randy, would email that poor guy. I would email him every 6 months being like, when are you going to let me direct? Here's what I'm doing, and he, to his credit, he was always encouraging, always saying, yeah, the door is open, Crystal. You can keep on asking, but I need you to go out and do the thing and show me that you're serious. And I was like, okay, done. I will go do, I will raise whatever funds I have to raise. I did another short after during the pandemic. I shot with just me and a camera op, one sound guy. I wrote, directed, and starred in it, and a couple of my friends. That's the short ultimately that got me this internship. And then I met with Ashley at Rama Drama. That's how we met. And I told her that I wanted to do this. Yeah, it was crazy. And then she asked me to go on a hike with her, and I was like, yeah. And I had my baby strapped to my back. I was like, because that's how I roll. And I didn't know, but she was interviewing me during that hike.
Oh, yeah.
Classic Ashley.
Yeah, classic.
I'm kind of glad I didn't know, because I was much more open and just asking her. What ultimately I think got me this spot is really the grit that I talked about, because I was like, look, if I can't get in, what else can I apply for? Where should I be going? Okay. She gave me some advice to write letters and do these things. I did it by day 2, like I was like, whatever I got to do, I'm doing the thing. So I think that was more what pushed me into position than anything.
So we know that Hallmark shoots notorious 15-day shoots. You're going through over 100 pages of dialogue in 15 days. Yeah. That as a director who's helming the ship, I mean, there's a lot of, spinning plates here. Well, how daunting was that day one, or did you just feel like this is where I want to be?
I mean, the program of Make Her Mark is amazing, right? So I shadowed Jess Harmon from prep to post, so I got to watch her do her thing. And then I had, the program is that then the mentor becomes your creative producer, which I did have for the first little while, but Jess, who's open about this now, so I can say it, I found out she was pregnant during my prep. And so then she had to leave because she was violently ill. Oh. And I had Lisa Hayter come in and be my mentor. So I was padded in that way. Like I knew I had someone to have my back. That being said, I like to be thrown into the fire. It was a grueling shoot, but my producer on that, Mike Barbuto, like the guy, I don't even want to say his name on here because I don't want other people taking him. I'm like, no, he's mine. I'm not sharing him ever again. He's with Muse. That guy can move mountains. He made things really comfortable for me to play around in. And I was like, messing around. I was like, let's try this. Let's take my favorite shot from Romeo and Juliet with Baz Luhrmann. And can I get there? How do we move? How can I get, okay, we can use the card this way. I mean, I was designing things and he was like, what?
If I see anything like a Baz Luhrmann shot on Hallmark, we're going to have a whole breakdown here on the podcast. Oh my goodness. I tried.
I have my version of it in there, and it's not perfect but it is my version of it. Like, what the great thing about Mike was that he was like, okay, Crystal, what do you want to do? I kept talking about Moonlight and quoting all these films, and he was like, okay.
Yeah.
I came in with a full color palette. You guys will see as you watch the film, which here's little Easter eggs. She's in reds, he's in blues. You're always going to see that. You'll see a lot of purples as they come together. Like I'm obsessed with. I love color theory. You're going to see all those kind of things that happen within the film. And I took the opportunity to try. The difficult part of this film is that there's a reality show in the movie.
Oh my goodness.
And so technically that's 2 movies that I'm shooting. I'm shooting the reality show. It has to look
different. Yes.
And then I'm shooting the show, and there's 6 people in every scene. I was like,
had to really shift gears, if you know what I mean. I do have this question. You're literally like, this is not a standard Hallmark. We have an office building in Canada and a cozy home in Canada, and you have 2 locations and an outside location. Let's let our first time she's directed for Hallmark. Let's let her. No. You've got motorcycles. You've got Tyler Hines, who is like for Hallmark. That's the biggest name on Hallmark.
He's Jesus Christ.
I mean, we say he's Jesus Christ all the time. He is a big deal. So, like, for someone who, directing TV, we talked to Stacey Harding, who directed Round and Round last year and has directed a lot of stuff. And there's a weird, when you direct a film for theaters, it's the filmmaker's medium. When you direct on TV, sometimes it's the network's medium, sometimes it's the writer's medium. What about like this? I don't want to ask another "were you afraid" question, but there's a lot here. There's a lot happening here. Yeah. How much did you feel empowered to put your own vision on it?
I'm laughing because if my producer was here, he would be like rolling his eyes because he'd be like, she was like, I wasn't holding back with putting on my own idea.
I love it.
If you saw my office, it was like covered in all of my stuff, I mean, I, again, broke it down the way I would have as an actor to arc-wise. Like, how do I make these 2 people grow from each other? How do I make this dance make sense? Yeah, there's a lot of elements. It's so funny. Everyone's like, were you scared working with Tyler? And I was like, well, no, because he's my peer.
Right.
You know, and I'm so grateful I got him because, yeah, he's the bad boy of Hallmark. And this script, as soon as I read it, I was like, this has to be Tyler. Like, he's the guy to do this job. But he's my peer. You know, if I put you guys in a podcast room with the top podcasters, it would be super cool. But like, also, you guys do the same job. So you know what, you know, you speak the same language. It's that part doesn't freak me out at all.
It is hard to find people that are at our level, but I do understand the general point.
And she did somewhere in there say we're professional. Yeah. And I think that is all I could take from that.
That's true.
You know.
And Caparel was like so easy too. That stuff wasn't, what was daunting for me more was just like, how am I going to shoot a 6-hander? I haven't shot a 6-hander. How do I get these looks of people looking at each other? And yeah, I mean, everybody that came on set was like, this is a lot for your first movie. Like, sure is. But I wouldn't want it any other way. You know, like I would, if you asked me again, do you want this script or do you want these two people talking in a cafe? 100% I would have chosen that one. Don't give me the hardest script you have.
I love it.
Give me the most difficult one and I will get through it and it'll be beautiful. And then, you know, I would rather that.
I love it.
So,
that's great.
Yeah, I'm a fear chaser.
Are we gonna?
But yeah, there were moments where I cried.
Are we gonna watch this and be like, this doesn't even look like a Hallmark movie? Or
they've got to have some
just like some of that, right?
It definitely looks like a Hallmark. I mean, it's still a Hallmark movie.
Yeah,
it's still a romance. It's still got comedy in it. It's still Hallmark. But they're really expanding. You know, like they are looking for creative voices and new voices. And they let me come in and make some interesting choices. You know, I also just don't think it's that hard in terms of, not that it's not hard to direct it, because it was very hard to direct it. Sometimes because they make, you know, 90, 100 movies a year. And I'm not talking about the network, but sometimes, you know, people get complacent of making the same thing over and over again. And you know, it's easy for them to just shoot a wide, you know, and make people laugh. And that's the thing. I will never look at anything that way. I said to the actors when I got this, you know, this would be a pretty great budget if we were shooting a tiny little indie.
Right. Yeah.
So why don't we treat it like a little indie? I'm going to treat it like that. I'm going to put my whole heart and soul into this thing. I shared with everybody in the crew my color palettes and what we were trying to do. And the team was amazing. I had my grips coming up being like, is this the right shade of purple? You know, like, are we paying, where are you doing this? You know, like everybody came together and created this like really, you know, I think really pretty little movie that I'm very proud of.
You can't go wrong there though, Crystal. You just can't, like when someone's that passionate, like, and doing something that they love doing, it's always better than stock. It always is. Like, it's not going to return void. It's not going to come back and be like, because people cared. You can see that care on screen. I think that matters. And we watch a lot of movies. We've had 1,100 episodes. Like, we watch a lot of movies from a lot of networks, not just from Up and Lifetime. And we can tell, and we're not even in the business. We can tell when somebody showed up on the first day and was like, all right, let's just do this thing and get it over with. Like, you can, there's a care factor. It's in some ways a lot like food. You can tell something has been made with love. And so
you can tell when the best boy was just being a good boy.
Yeah. When that key grip wasn't really key.
He was not key.
It wasn't really key at all.
You can tell those things.
He was like, you know,
you can take that best boy being a good boy. You can run with that.
You can do whatever you want.
I just came up with that right now. Actually thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This movie also has classic car elements, just so you know. And like each one of those cars, that was the most difficult thing. We had to get this cars in stages. So like the cars became their own thing because they had to be like, we had to make sure we scheduled around shooting the cars in the right stage to make sure for the competition.
Right.
That part was really difficult. My car guys though were so dope, and like they drove around everywhere. There, I'll give you guys another Easter egg that I think I've said. I paid homage to Thelma and Louise in this movie.
Nice.
I asked for a Thunderbird, 67 Thunderbird, and they were like, "Yeah, we can get it for you." I was like, "Shut up."
That's awesome.
Really? They were like, "Yeah." I'm like, and so when I got to the car place, I think I have a picture of it. They had three versions, beater, a not so beater, and then a nice one that we had to like get whatever fixed. And it says Thelma, Louise, and the Cliff.
It's great.
Hilarious.
I love it.
So funny.
Fantastic. Shifting gears. What is it? The 23rd, I believe.
Yeah,
is when the movie comes out.
23rd.
Really looking forward to it, and I'm also really looking forward to the rapid fire round because that's where we are.
Yeah, it starts right now.
We each get to ask you 3 questions.
It's nothing like what we've been doing.
It's very different. Because these can be about anything.
That's right.
Such as if you're going to have noodles. Which noodle are you going with? Is it a spaghetti? Is it a rigatoni? Is it a macaroni?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Pick your noodle.
Well, I'm Chinese, so it would be a crispy chow mein noodle.
Great answer.
Macaroni.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's a great answer.
You've referenced several films throughout this interview. It's clearly you're a movie person. Do you, I hate to ask this, but do you have a favorite or top 3 film? These are the movies that made you.
Oh, guys, I'm so gushy, mushy. Moonlight is one of my favorite films of all time.
It's phenomenal.
Because I'll tell you something, Moonlight was the first movie that I really understood color. And if anyone hasn't seen that movie, watch it. You'll see it. It's and even on the poster, right? It's pink and blue and purple on the inside. And I was like, oh, because it's someone dealing with masculine, feminine, and what that looks like in between. Beautiful. Braveheart.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies because I'm so hopeless romantic. And I love Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen Kung Fu Hustle?
I've seen it. Yes, I watched a ton of Jackie Chan, drunken master stuff, and then Kung Fu Hustle I saw in the movie theater.
Wow,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
How about
that?
Yeah. I'm also a Strictly Ballroom is one of my faves. I really like big pops of color and big characters, and that's my jam.
I love it.
Do you have any pets?
I did. I had a cat for 18
Why'd
years
you have to bring it up,
I had a dog for 18 years named Honey. Both of them passed.
That seemed like a gotcha question. I didn't know that information. I didn't know it. Dude, I didn't know that.
Her agent on the phone was like, don't ask about pets.
Don't ask about pets.
Specifically, don't talk about the reindeer, the Fiji, or pets. You did all of them.
But I love those pets, so it's okay. We can talk about them. They were great.
Are you
Honey and Diva. Yes, I had
Honey and Diva. R.I.P. Obviously. Are you, Crystal, you're in Canada right now or Los Angeles?
I am in Los Angeles currently.
Currently, yes. Okay. What's the best food from home in Canada that you miss when you're in Los Angeles? Is there anything that you just can't get in LA like it's made in Canada?
Well, here's the weird thing, because I'm from British Columbia, is it's so weird, but the Chinese food in BC is almost comparable to Hong Kong. It's the best because there's such a huge Chinese population. The dim sum is
really.
Oh my God, it's the best Chinese food. If you guys come to Vancouver, we're going out for dim sum. We're comparable to Hong Kong.
We're dear friends with Antonio Cajon, who owns 3 restaurants. So we do have to put his, he owns 3 restaurants up there, but dim sum's on the list. That would be, oh my goodness. Have you ever had dim sum?
No.
Oh, come on.
Come. We will go and feast. You will love it. There's so many things.
It's all these different types of dumplings. And they bring her, is it with the carts? They bring her on the carts?
Sometimes that's kind of old school, which is super fun because they pull around the carts and then everyone yells at each other. I mean, there's nothing more heartwarming for me. It's so weird. Whenever I'm stressed or depressed, I'll go to a Chinese wonton noodle house where everybody's yelling at each other and kind of rude, and I feel so much better. I'm home.
That's great. I love it.
This is better.
I love it.
Would you rather get tomorrow's newspaper today,
early edition,
yep, or just be able to see 100 years in the future where it doesn't really affect you, but you get to see what it's going to be like in 100 years?
Well, 100 years in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you could just look at whatever the Google of that time and then bring it back here and invent it.
That's pretty good.
Man, I like tomorrow's newspaper. This is easily, you asked some really terrible questions. This is easily your best question.
Thank you.
Easily.
Anytime I get to bring up early edition,
early edition. Yeah. I am. The cat, the whole bit. It's great. It's a great television show. Crystal, is there a genre of film that either directorial or as an actor that you've not really gotten to do that you would like to move forward to? I guess comedy maybe aside from that.
Or is it a musical? That was my audition, by the way.
Yeah.
That was really good. I feel thrown and excited by that, which is exactly how I feel when I see a rock star.
Wow. Oh my God.
I think I would love. You know what I would really like to do, which has never happened, is a period piece.
Okay.
Because like, when have I ever got? Now that Bridgerton and all these other shows and all the Jane Austen stuff on Hallmark, which was super cool, it was such a cool mix of diverse casting. And thank you, Lin-Manuel, for giving us that. Like, hey, I can maybe be in a period piece. Yeah. That would be dope.
Yeah. You know? And then, but as a director, that seems like a headache, like to make sure it all looks exactly the way it should look all the time. Like it's another level, right?
That's not a headache. That's like so fun. I'm like, what else can you give me? Like that's my favorite part, is the like being specific and finding, because that means I'd have to do all the research on it. Like, oh my God, I would love
producer,
that.
What they should do on Crystal's next movie for Hallmark is to come and be like, hey, I know it's a 15-day shoot. We're going to have to do it in 9. We're going to do it in 9 days.
We heard you like challenges. We heard
Crystal's like, okay. Yeah, let's do it.
100% that will happen, and 100% I will lean in.
I love it.
We'll make it happen.
Crystal, it's very evident that you love your craft and you're super, super talented at it. And also that you typically give the credit to every time we've talked about anything you've done, you've mentioned other people. And so it's clear that you love it, but also you're kind and people love to work with you. We can't thank you enough for being on the show and hanging out with us for the last hour. I mean, thanks for giving up your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me and bringing up all my pets. Going crying.
Yeah. And dying in a tanning bed.
Yes.
Brandon just has some really awkward questions.
I didn't bring that up. I brought up Chingy, but I can't get in trouble for that. Okay. All right. We said we're going to end it this way, and you said that it would be fine and not weird at all. So maybe we'd be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, you guys.
For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to BrambleJamPlus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.